This is Get Real with Bob and Stacy, the show that helps you learn about the mortgage and real estate markets. Get the inside scoop from their expert list of guests and have some fun along the way. Now, here's Bob Gallagher and Stacy Alcorn.
Welcome back. You're listening to Get Real with Bob and Stacy. You're joining us for our Leaders and Legends segment. Joining us first today is Elaine Pofeldt, an independent journalist and author who specializes in small business, entrepreneurship, and careers. Welcome to the show, Elaine.
Thank you so much, Bob and Stacy. It's great to be here.
So I want to give everybody some background on Elaine. As Bob mentioned, she is an author, and her book is just recently published by Random House, is The $1 Million One-Person Business, a look at how entrepreneurs are hitting seven-figure revenues in business where they're the only employee. They're tapping into the automation and other technology to scale their efforts. Her work has appeared in Fortune, Money, CNBC, Inc., Forbes, Crain's New York Business, and more, including as a contributor to The Economist Intelligence Unit. As a senior editor at Fortune Small Business, where she worked for 8 years, Elaine was twice nominated for the National Magazine Award for her features and ran the magazine's annual business plan competition. She's also run the magazine's website, building its traffic from 2 to 5 million page views a month. Wow, that's amazing. Elaine graduated from Yale University with a BA in English. So first of all, tell us, I'm interested. I've already, while I was sitting here, ordered a copy of the book because I want to know how to build the $1 million one-person business where I can do it myself and scale. So tell us all about it.
Awesome. I'm so glad you ordered the book, Stacy. I hope you enjoy it. The reason I wrote the book is thank you. I have been a journalist for many years, as you know, and I've written about entrepreneurship almost exclusively, really, for the past decade. And I came across some really interesting statistics that surprised me that led to the book. The U.S. Census Bureau tracks non-employer businesses. Those are the ones that most people in America run. So these are the ones that have a solo entrepreneur or maybe two partners, like a husband and wife team or two friends. And I noticed that they had revenue. And the revenue figures showed that there was a small but growing group of entrepreneurs in non-employer businesses that were bringing in between 1 and 2.49 million in revenue. Now, you guys run a business, so you know how rare this is for a one-person business. I think in my area, I'm in the New Jersey area, the average income for a non-employer business is around $49,000. So this is way above what most people are bringing in. I got curious and I started looking at what are they doing using the census data, and I was able to kind of slice and dice the data and look at the categories of business that they were running. This led to a blog post on Forbes that went very viral and a whole little mini franchise of writing about these businesses and what they were doing. So eventually it led to a book, and it's been a lot of fun because what's so interesting is they're in so many different industries. It's really not so much the industry that they're in, but how they're running the businesses that is getting them to 1 million.
Wow. So is there anything in particular that's driving the trend?
Absolutely, Stacy. It's technology. These people are not techies in the sense of being web developers or engineers, but what they're doing is using low-cost technology to extend what one person can do so that they can focus on the high-value activities of the business, like strategy or meeting with important big company clients to grow the business. They are automating all kinds of mundane tasks in their business, from connecting their accounting software to their bank account or their business credit card, using scheduling applications instead of emailing back and forth with someone to set up a time. They just send out a link to their schedule that enables the person to choose a time. They're doing things like that and using industry-specific automation too to make their businesses much easier to run so that they can accomplish more. Another couple of interlocking trends that are driving this are the growth of freelancing platforms and the growth of outsourced services. So what we're seeing is the big platforms like Upwork have made it much easier for a person in a solo business, if they need a web designer or they need a bookkeeper, to find a good person who's highly rated bring them into the business and offload tasks that the owner really isn't trained to do and could learn, but would probably be pretty inefficient at them. The interlocking trend that ties into this is outsourcing. So, for instance, we have Amazon stores where the owners are using fulfillment by Amazon to send out the order so that they're not packing up the boxes and dealing with all the inventory themselves. These trends have made it possible to go way beyond what businesses did in the past.
So what are some of the types of businesses? Because it seems like with what you're talking about, like service delivery has to be better than ever because everything else can be replaced by technology. So what are the types of businesses that you're seeing doing this?
That's a great question, Stacey. It's really interesting. What I found was there were 6 main categories that were accessible to the average person. There's some specialized niche areas like running a hedge fund that most people can't do. So I eliminated those. But the ones that a lot of people could attempt are e-commerce. That's probably the number one because you don't necessarily need an MBA to run an e-commerce store. The rise of platforms like Amazon make it very possible for people to put up a store with limited inventory, test what works, and then double down on the products that are successful and eliminate the ones that aren't. So that's a big category. And people are not only doing it on Amazon. Sometimes they have their own freestanding stores where they're a curator of a certain type of product. Maybe they're really passionate about a hobby and they sell products related to that hobby. So one of the entrepreneurs in the book, for instance, Dan Fagella, he was in the Boston area at the time, ran Science of Skill, a martial arts store that had a lot of martial arts equipment. He was a martial arts competitor and he built it around his passion. So that's increasingly possible. Another area that you wouldn't think one-person businesses can even get into, but is really growing fast, is manufacturing. You can have people in your home, in their own home, outsourcing all of the manufacture of a food product, for instance, to a company called a co-packer so that they don't need the employees that a factory would have. They don't need to have the facilities, and they know the food will be packaged safely. There were a few companies in the book that did that. And I recently interviewed a nurse who used this approach. She's a mom of 3, never worked in business before. She was a NICU nurse. And she was working with moms who were nursing their babies and started baking bars for them to help them with nutrition. The bars started selling really fast, so she said, I should manufacture these. And she wound up outsourcing this to a co-packer. The brand is called Booby Bars, and she wound up getting it into Walmart.
Wow.
Now this woman from her home has a product in Walmart, right? A one-person business. Incredible. This was not possible before. So that's number 2. Informational content creation is a hot area too. And this is one that can be an adjunct to many businesses. So you'll see somebody who, maybe they're an accountant and they keep on getting the same questions from their clients. They might do a webinar on some new change in the tax law that people have to pay $200 to go to. It's a good way to onboard clients who maybe can't afford to hire you on an hourly basis but still need the information. And maybe a year or 2 from now, will have the budget to come on board. So that's a good way to leverage what you already know. You just have to get into the process of researching how to do a webinar or a course. There's a platform called Teachable where I see a lot of people putting up courses. There's some experimentation. Of course, you've got to see what people are interested in learning, but this is very hot. Professional services and creative businesses can get to the 7 figures, but they have to usually go beyond the traditional trading time for dollars, because even if you charge $300 an hour, it's hard to get to $1 million. So you might have to have a combo practice where maybe you do some hourly or retainer work, but you also have an informational product. This is similar to the personal services firm. So I saw a lot of people in things like fitness coaching, or they were nutritionists, and they had one-on-one clients, but then they said, you know what, a lot of other people would benefit from what I know. One of the entrepreneurs, Megan Telpner, is a mom in Canada, and she was diagnosed with Crohn's disease about 10 years ago, healed herself. She's been in remission for 10 years and became a nutritionist. She had been in advertising. So she started out with a product called the Green Smoothie Fast, where she taught people a little bit of what she knew, and then she built on that and eventually created a school where she teaches people healthy cooking. It's called the Academy of Culinary Nutrition, and that's become a high revenue business. And then finally, real estate. And this is a fun one because it's something that people can do outside of a traditional career by investing. One of the entrepreneurs in the book is a financial planner in Duluth, Minnesota, Corey Binsfield. He's also a skateboarder. So he skateboards around Duluth, Minnesota looking for properties that might be appealing, and he buys small duplexes and rents them out. Now he's in his 50s, and he started this years ago. So each time he invested in one property, he'd reinvest, and now he has 116 properties, and that has become his $1 million business.
Wow.
That's awesome. So you said earlier that these people don't technically have to be super tech savvy, but it seems like you have to have a little bit of tech savvy. Are there any common threads amongst the business owners that you interviewed?
Absolutely. I think that when they don't know how to do something, they're probably more willing than average to invest in hiring someone to do it. There is a setup for some tech programs. And so, like, if you're having trouble with your QuickBooks, instead of being a do-it-yourselfer, if you want to be more like these folks, you might realize, you know what, I'm never going to get that set up. Let me just hire a bookkeeper. It's not that expensive. Get it all set up correctly. And then I can move on to doing what I do best and what I get paid the most for. So I wouldn't let that intimidate you, because also a lot of technologies are made for the average person today. Things that used to be hard to do, like posting to a website, have become so easy. And that's the competitive advantage of many of the products, is they are easy. So if you find one that's too hard, chances are there's probably an easier one that you can use, or somebody you can hire inexpensively to just, if you can't put the website up yourself, it's taking too long, just hire somebody. You can find somebody. I have even employed my middle school children to help me put up certain things because they learn so much of it in school. You'd be surprised if you have any teens in your life how much they actually know. So that shouldn't really stop you. But there has to be a willingness to invest in yourself. I would say the other thing that they have in common is they step away from the business. We can all get on a treadmill in a one-person business or partnership where we're just plowing through the work and we have no distance. And we're never really thinking about, okay, what is the big picture? What do I want out of my life or this business? These people actually make it a priority to step back, take care of themselves, and say, you know what, I'm going to meditate, or I'm going to spend this afternoon on Daddy-Daughter Day, and I'm not going to work in the business so I can have a little bit of perspective. And that perspective gives them that mental distance to strategize and think a little bigger than the average business owner.
Wow. For anybody that's just tuning in, we have Elaine Pofeldt, and she is the author of The $1 Million One-Person Business. We have a few minutes left, Elaine. What advice would you have for somebody who's listening right now? Maybe they're in a corporate job or a career that they just don't love, and they're listening to this and they say, I want to build a business around my passion. What advice do you have?
Your day job. I think a lot of people get mad at their boss and they think you should quit today and start the business, jump in with 2 feet. That isn't realistic for most people. Most people don't have that much savings in the United States, and that will lead to a calamity where you run out of money to start the business. Start the business on the side. A lot of the entrepreneurs in the book did it. It takes a little bit of discipline to take the time that you might have spent on something else. But if you even put 2 hours a week into your business, you'd be surprised at how far you can get in 3 to 6 months. Save up some money so that you have the money to invest in that time. And then when you're really bringing in enough income, that's when you quit your day job. Laszlo Nadler, an entrepreneur in the book, was a project manager in a big bank. He sells planners on Amazon. He started piloting them on Amazon for 2 years, got to a 6-figure income, and then quit. Now he's a $2 million one-man business. But he gave himself that runway. So I would say, do not get mad and quit your job. Give yourself time.
So he's selling planners? Is that what you said he's doing?
Yeah, day books, paper day books on Amazon. But he has a differentiating factor.
He's making $2 million. Oh, my God.
In revenue. Revenue is not income. I should point out, just for the I know you guys know this, but for the benefit of people who are listening, when you bring in $1 million in revenue, you're probably taking home $200,000 to $400,000. When all is said and done, when expenses are subtracted, you've paid your taxes. So these are not bringing in $1 million in income. That's different. Right. But this is still way above what most people make in America. So most people would be pretty happy with that.
To be in that income range is impressive as a single person.
It's wonderful. It gives them a lot of freedom. Most people would love to have that income. So that's kind of why I wrote the book. Not everybody aspires to be Mark Zuckerberg. It's out of reach. But a lot of people would like to have a mid-six-figure income so that they have economic security.
Yes, absolutely.
Bob, we're totally going to go sell planners.
I was just thinking the same
Well, you probably have an idea that's unique to you. I would say focus on what you're good at. You know, everybody has something special about themselves, so it's a matter of taking inventory. He's a project manager. He loves productivity. There's a lot of competition in planners, and I know you guys are joking around, but I think everyone has something special about themselves that could be turned into a business. So that's kind of the trick, is like really understanding what makes you different and how to monetize that.
And not for nothing, I'm going to read your book first, but it's probably a very unique and cool planner. So I'll probably end up ordering a planner as well.
Let me know what you think. He's got very high ratings on Amazon, so apparently he has many, many fans.
That's great.
Excellent.
Elaine, where can people follow you and get a copy of the book?
The book is available on Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com and is sold in many Barnes & Noble stores, or they can go to themilliondollar1personbusiness.com. That's written out in words, not numbers, or ElainePofeldt.com, ELAINE, P as in Peter, O, F as in Frank, E, L as in Larry, D as in David, T as in Tom.com.
Okay,
excellent.
Awesome stuff. That was Elaine Pofeldt, and her book, again, is The $1 Million One-Person Business. Thanks for joining us today, Elaine.
Thanks, Elaine.
Thank you, Bob and Stacy. This was great. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back with more Get Real after this.